this provision is that the board has a role to advise the minister on matters involving the profession. It is therefore efficient that we do have the permanent secretary speaking to these aspects. Then we also want to speak to a proposed amendment under clause 5, where we are suggesting a rewording rather to look at including a dean of a faculty of a training health professional at a higher learning institution to be a representative. So the old bill speaks to a dean of the School of Medicine. I think one thing that we want to emphasize here is not to leave it strictly to the field of medicine, because then we are also capturing other aspects like we have acknowledged with the expanding involvement of the health sector itself. Then just to sum up, we do provide some 2 best practices that do capture requirements for qualified international health practitioners, and this speaks to the provision in the bill that says an application by the council will only be considered if the applicant is a citizen or a resident of the Republic. So we note 2 cases for the United States as well as for South Africa where international practitioners from time to time may go into a country to train, to be part of the profession. So it would be good for our professional body to actually just have a provision that will allow them also write these examinations before they can be included as practicing institutions. This also helps us ensure that we have a robust register. And for South Africa, I think one thing that we felt would be beneficial to the committee is that South Africa is part of an electronic portfolio for international credentials. This is a system that we could also subscribe to, just to ensure that even the people that are coming in as experts from outside would actually be qualified in their own right. Then I will just skip to some aspects around regulation of health practitioners and facilities. I think one thing that we did note, and also part of our interactions with some of the key stakeholders under the council, would include that the bill provides for inspectors without notice to demand the production, inspection and relevant certificates as they are doing their monitoring. This is for the inspectors themselves. So I would like to say that we feel the system might benefit from ensuring that while we issue a practicing certificate to an individual, we can also ensure that we are attaching identity cards. This would help ensure that monitoring itself is key, where we have a database. If a practitioner or an inspector is able to simply scan the code, this will help us reduce the risk that we face with some of these fortified certificates that are being produced even in a country like Zambia. And I think the last aspect I would like to speak to before my colleague comes to speak on the other bill is the administration of licensure exams. I think one thing that we did note, and this was in the public media, is that some of the exams were discontinued for certificate programs, and we do understand that this is aimed at ensuring that we have quality assurance where diploma and degree holders would be the ones allowed to sit for these exams. So this current bill does not specify for these recent changes that provide for discontinuation. So we would like to propose that this development be included in the bill, and this could sit under Part 4, where the administration of licensure exams. This policy decision will indeed provide a formal recognition through legislature to ensure that licensure exams are well represented, including their administration. So some of the opportunities that we did acknowledge in the bill, just to wrap up, it does acknowledge the current framework where we are looking at the existing healthcare provisions. We do see some form of business opportunity in the health sector. It also does propose a simplified registration process and does uphold to ensure quality assurance. But perhaps one challenge that we thought would be useful for the committee is that there is lack of infrastructure for candidates to write their licensure exams, a lack of a centralized location, which does increase risk in one way or the other. And I think the best example we would give with Ziale, where the center is not adequate, they do have a warehouse where they administer these exams. It would be good for the council also going forward to improve aspects around infrastructure, and this might require some dedicated resources to facilitate for this. I'll end here and allow my colleague to come in.
Maybe, Chair, you can guide. Do you want us to continue, or do you want us to interact on this one?
At this moment we can first ask honorable members of Parliament to ask questions concerning the last submission.
Okay.
Then after that, another one can make her submission.
All right. Thank
Honorable members, anyone with questions?
Okay.
You can start, Honorable Chala.
Thank you, Chair. I just want your comment on the reduction of the number of the board, because previously in the current law they're supposed to be 19, but they have reduced it to 9. Now looking at the different types of associations that we have, some of the associations are not included, like doctors. They will not be part of the board according to this proposed law. What is your comment?
No, you can ask then. Pardon? Yes, you can.
Thank you so much. Just on the same, the board, there are proposals that we include someone from Zambia chartered account. So I would need a comment as you are answering to the honorable member's question. Thank you.
Witness, I think you can answer those questions. Then after that, I'll ask another one to ask.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honorable members, for those 2 questions. I'll just re-echo our submission in the bill. I think we do feel that the reduction is something that is welcome because it does promote streamlining of the board's operations, ensuring decision-making and facilitating for a more effective governance. From where we sit, when we look at a board, we are looking at the requisite skill. I do understand the concern. Perhaps not everybody, not every profession itself would be included, but I think we need to find a way to ensure that everyone is represented, but also at the same time ensuring that we don't have too many voices. This board is meant to provide a strategic decision, so streamlining a board, normally there should be parameters, best practices, even international standards that guide on the number. But perhaps there's a way that we can ensure every voice is perhaps accounted for, looking at the different professions. Then maybe just to speak to the aspect of the chartered accounting, again, I would still maintain that we are looking at the composition of skills. So this board is presiding, I would say, over a council. So much as we may not only look at the health aspects, there could be other areas of operation for the institution, for the council itself, that need to be factored in, and guidance at board or strategic level has to be provided.
Okay. Any question? Honorable Chibombo.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, Madam, for your presentation. I've noted that this bill, in the proposals made, it's like we're going to give so much powers to the minister. You know, where the minister will appoint someone to represent the PS, the minister will appoint also another person, so the minister will have like 3 or 4 appointments. Don't you think there's a danger in giving so much power to the minister? Then the second one is your comment on lack of representation from private universities. In the proposals, it's only representation from public universities. And we've noted that there are quite a number of private universities that are offering these health or medical courses. So, yeah, your comment on the 2. Thank you.
Okay. You can answer those questions.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for the 2 questions. I'll start with the second one. Perhaps I've missed it in the document. I think one thing that we're emphasizing is higher learning institutions, especially those that are accredited. I did give the example of a dean from a faculty of medicine. That is quite limiting. It might be public universities that might have that particular dean represented. But for us, the emphasis would really to be ensure that both private and public, like you've rightly noted, private institutions are doing quite well. They are growing. They are producing the graduates. So it's important that it really looks at a holistic kind of approach. Then on the minister, I think the question was around the danger in terms of giving too much power. I think in our submission, perhaps we did acknowledge a specific area we acknowledge a specific area where the bill actually reduces the authority that the minister has. But maybe to answer your question directly, if there is a provision that would support a minister making a decision, let it be on the recommendation of the council itself, not the minister in his own independence. Because then we are looking at a council itself that is governing over a particular profession. I think those are some of the emphasis, especially in wording. I think sometimes we tend to miss some of these aspects when we don't put it in black and white. So for us, perhaps maybe the bill in certain areas, of course I can't speak to everything, blanket response, but how do we ensure that some of these decisions are based on the recommendation of the governing board in this case?
Okay. Any question?
Thank you so much. Just on the rider, over the constitutional board, there are many complaints that this board and any other boards that are constituted to do with the medical issues, UNZA is a partaker to these, committees. Hence the question from my colleague, where he's saying it's like UNZA is more favored than these other private institutions that are providing a service. So would you have the same notion as to why UNZA is ever included in this aspect?
Okay, I'll come in, Honorable, and I'll also allow my colleagues in case they have any reflections. When we looked at the old act and the one being proposed, and I think this is where the emphasis is coming from, it may have been a practice, but I think one thing that we can acknowledge being clear in this bill is that we don't want to limit to a specific institution or a specific profession. So here I'll tell you under clause 5 we are suggesting a rewording, because it was saying a dean of school of medicine, and looking at the old act, be it 2009 or before, UNZA was probably the only institution at the time that had that fully fledged structure. But here what we are suggesting, and this is something that we can get right, is that we ensure higher health professionals at higher learning institutions, to include both private and public. Perhaps once we have it in the law, it's something that we can begin to navigate, even as these boards are constituted. Of course, that authority does not sit with us as ZIPA, but these are recommendations that we can clearly point out. And because the law, if passed, would be favorable in that regard, I think it does give us room to see how other institutions, like I say, that might be doing better in terms of facility, in terms of technology, how do we bring these on board and ensure that their views are well captured?
Okay. Okay. If you you are through with the questions, then another witness can submit the other submission.
Good morning, good morning, honorables. May I, honorable members, may I take you through the Tropical Diseases and Research Center Act. So the Tropical Disease and Research Center was established by WHO, or the World Health Organization, in 1975, and established as the National Research and Training Institute in 1981. So the Tropical Disease Research Center Act and the National Health Research and Training Institute Bill of 2024 reflect changes in the country's health priorities and institutional governance. And then while the objective of the old act was to establish and advance research focused on control of tropical diseases, which were a major concern at the time in certain regions, and an impact on public health, the proposed bill introduces amendments aimed at reforming and modernizing the institute, and therefore it broadens the scope to encompass comprehensive health research, reflecting the evolution of health challenges and research needs over time. Further, climate change has also necessitated the need for enhancing health research and innovation, particularly as shifting weather patterns have altered the geographical and seasonal distribution of diseases. And these changes have disproportionately affected vulnerable populations, making it essential to adopt innovative approaches and adaptive strategies to mitigate the effects of climate change. And then finally, the bill prioritizes research, training, collaboration, and policy development, and strengthening to a broader spectrum to health issues. So specifically, the bill seeks to achieve the following. So the bill seeks to rename TDRC to the National Health Research and Training Institute and redefine its functions, establish a health research laboratory, promote research in indigenous knowledge and alternative medicines, and repeal and replace the old act. So on page 3, under key highlights, we outline some key issues, some key highlights that we found in the bill. And the first is renaming the center as the National Institute for Health Research. So the Tropical Disease and Research Center has been renamed to the National Health Research and Training Institute. We believe that this transition reflects the scope of the Institute's mandate and also reflects its priorities in public health research that have evolved over time. It will also help in facilitating workforce development in that by redefining training and research priorities, the Act can better align educational programs with skills needed in the evolving health landscape. Further, we also highlight the differentiating functions of the institution and the board. And under this, we see that the bill clarifies roles of the board and institute, thus enhancing accountability and operational clarity. So we see that the bill clearly defines the functions of the board and the institute by stipulating that the board will provide strategic policy direction and oversight to the institute, while the institute will conduct research in accordance to the National Health Research Act. And in the old Act, we noted that the functions of the institute were not clearly defined, as they were all under functions of the board. So ZIPA, we welcome this change, as the research scope of the institute has expanded beyond tropical diseases along with its functions. And the bill addresses this by clearly defining the governance and operation of roles, ensuring a clear distinction between responsibilities of the board and the institute. The other highlight we bring out is functions of the institute, which have been clearly defined, and this is on page 4. So the implication is that the clearly defined functions of the institute has empowered it to expand its research focus beyond tropical diseases to a wide range of health issues, including recent experiences with emerging infectious diseases like COVID-19, non-communicable diseases such as cancer, and zoonotic diseases like anthrax. This expansion aligns with the Institute's vision of advancing public health not only within Zambia but beyond its borders. Then the other highlight we bring out is flexibility on board representation. The amendments proposed under Part 2, Section 5 introduce a significant change in the board's composition. Unlike the old Act, which mandated rigid representation from various sectors for board diversity, the bill provides a more streamlined and adaptable board structure with focused expertise related to health research, ensuring inclusive representation on the board. As ZIPA, we also commend this amendment, as the increased flexibility on the board's composition is a positive development, bringing with it a range of perspectives and expertise. And this inclusivity is crucial in fostering the Institute's vision of enhancing innovation and advancing its research agenda. Further, the flexibility of the board will enhance collaboration, particularly in international research. By allowing inclusion of a local representative from an international agency, the bill will contribute to strengthening collaborative efforts and foster the formation of global partnerships. Then we also noted something very critical as well under Section 5, Clause F, of a person from a private sector with knowledge and expertise in finance or business management. We note the implication and that due to the evolving nature of the health sector and the growing innovations, the business representation is welcome, as they could not only provide financial oversight and foster strategic partnership, but also help identify opportunities to translate research outcomes into marketable products. And then under amendment to board proceedings, the old act stipulates that the board shall meet for the transaction of business at least once every 12 months. And then, however, the new bill proposes that the board shall meet for the transaction of business at least once every 3 months at a place and time that the board may determine. And ZIPA also welcomes this, as the change from annual to quarterly meetings will significantly enhance the board's ability to make timely decisions on various matters. And given the rapidly evolving nature of the health research field, more frequent meetings are essential for addressing emerging challenges, adopting innovations, and ensuring the Institute remains responsive to ongoing developments. We also note the establishment of a health research data repository and the establishment of a centralized system for storing, managing, and analyzing health-related data is crucial for ensuring that the data is organized, easily accessible, and properly stored, which will enhance research continuity and efficiency. In addition, the repository places emphasis on data security, ensuring that personal information is protected from unauthorized access and unlawful use. And this is particularly important in the field of health research, where sensitive personal and medical information is often involved. Thank you. Honorable members, if you can turn to page 6, under establishment of the National Health Research Laboratory. So this is also a critical amendment, as it will serve as a public preparedness and response facility that will also enhance the mandate of the Zambia National Public Health Institute to respond to health-related emergency in an effective manner. It will also foster collaboration among the two institutes in protecting the public from public health crisis. That we also noted a consequential amendment to harmonize functions with the Zambia National Public Health Institute. So the ZNHPI, as guided by the ZNHPI Act of Act number 19 of 2020, is mandated to provide for the coordination of public health security. And while the overarching health research legislation defines health research to include public health research, there remains a need for a clear delineation of roles between ZNPHI and the National Health Research and Training Institute, as both institutions engage in public health research. So the consequential amendment has been made to ZNPHI to specify that ZNPHI's mandate focuses on conducting research related to public health security, while broader health research, including training and capacity building initiatives, will be handled by the NHRTI. That under opportunities, we see that the bill provides increased stakeholder involvement. The board selection process promotes the involvement of various stakeholders, allowing collaboration between institutes and other key players in health research and policy. It also allows for resource expansion. Collaborating with external stakeholders, both local and international, will enable the institute to expand its resource base, bringing in additional funding. And it also provides enhanced governance and management. The bill strengthens the governance and management roles of the board and the institute, ensuring that leadership is more structured and accountable, which is essential for effective decision making. We note two key challenges, however. One is limited financial resources. While the expanded mandate of the institute is commendable, there will be some financial challenges that might be met, and the current budget may not be sufficient to support the broadened scope of activities. Also, further, insufficient staff capacity. The institute is currently operating at a 50% capacity, which limits its ability to meet the growing demands of research and training. Then in conclusion, the NHRTI introduces significant amendments that aim to strengthen the Institute's role in health research and training. And this is especially critical in the face of climate change, evolving health technology, and the needs for robust data systems to address current and future health crises. As a recommendation, we provide for strengthened collaborations, and collaborations with local and international stakeholders should be priority, as these partnerships will provide access to additional resources, expertise, and knowledge that will support the Institute in fulfilling its mandate. We submit.
Okay. Thank you very much for your submission. Honorable members, you can now ask questions. Honorable Chinkuli, you can switch off your mic.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and thank you for your presentation. I just want you to, almost issues that have been highlighted here, you've been making a comparison from the old to the new. I am at sea or at pain to look at the manner through which those that are given the mandate to operate, they drag their feet, and they would want something in black and white to make them do their work. Looking at the changes that are here, or what you have highlighted, with the small or overlapping functions that made, this institute not operating, how would you, how do I put it? With this overlapping, functions that were given to, where this one, there was no clearly defined, functions for a particular department. With the coming of this new bill, coupled with the challenges that you have put, where you're talking about, understaffing, how do you think this is going to sit, even if you were to amend it? Will it provide efficiency, effective, operations of or it will be the same, looking at the nature that us who are given the task to manage these affairs drag our feet, we don't put much effort that is required for us to. So I guess you have gotten where you've gotten there. I'm looking at the culture of work. We hit the nail right on its head. We've had a skeleton staff at this institution, coupled with the culture of work that we normally exhibit, where we are talking about, we want a law that will be asking us to report for work at this hour, knock off, can you do all this? Now, with the new amendments to the Act, are we guaranteed that the culture also will be enhanced, where people will do their job credibly? Because here we're talking about understaffing. Has that small staffing that has been there done its work, or the overstaffing, or if we staff it to the level of the establishment, all these challenges that we are having, disappear? I submit.
Okay. Honorable Chala, before you answer.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just wanted your satisfaction on where you were on page 6, comment where you have said clearly defining the roles of ZNPHI and the NHRTI will ensure improved condition in public health research and response. The distinction will foster better collaboration and lead to more targeted, effective research, ultimately contributing to a more integrated public health system. My question is, are you comfortable with the definition or the distinction currently in the bill? Thank you.
Okay. Witness, you can now answer those two questions.
Thank you very much. I think the first question is a very tough one to respond to. I'm not sure if we can use a word like guarantee, which is very strong. We can only hope, right? But I think what we have demonstrated in our submission is that the efforts to streamline the functions should help to improve some of that efficiency. Unfortunately, things to do with the work culture are things that are very deeply entrenched and might take a very long time, I think, to resolve. But if we keep treating these bills as living documents that can be further improved with experience, I think we can start to see some of that efficiency coming into play. But perhaps Muchimba and Liana have some of their reflections on this.
Yes, so we had a key informant interview with TDRC, and we did question them on the issue of understaffing, because that was one of the challenges they provided. However, they said they've been able to operate, but now that their mandate is expanding, they will also need to expand their capacity, because with these expanded functions, it means that they'll have more demand for their services, including the collaboration with the other institutions. So if we look at some of the work that they have been conducting prior to the amendment of the bill, they have been doing a lot of work, but because their act was very restricted to tropical diseases, again, it's very unclear to see how far they also managed to expand their research with their limited capacity. But they are aware of their 50% shortfall, and they hope that with this expanded mandate they will close this gap. Thank you.
Okay. Any question?
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
What was the second question or the last? The last question hasn't been answered. Maybe he can repeat his question. It was on page 6. Page 6.
It's about the
comment.
Defining the roles within this institution. I said, are you comfortable with the definition now? What is there in the deal? Distinction between the two.
I think our comment there is that we are happy that they've clearly distinguished their roles. Yeah. With the exact definition, maybe we may need to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can answer your question, Honorable.
I ask my question. I ask my question. Thank you so much, Chairperson. And I think mine is just, I'll just make two comments. Maybe just one question. It's good that you've noted that the annual board meeting was not adequate. It was actually grossly inadequate, and I think it was difficult for the board to provide good oversight and direction required for changing the health research environment. But now that again, it's good that you've noted that the new act is proposing that the TDRC's mandate now will be broadened, now will cover, other national public health importances such as, malaria, which we struggle with in Mansa, in Luapula, where I come from. Is, I think, still remains the #1 killer of, babies and even adults. So in your recommendation, I was hoping that you put something that there should be more emphasis on research on locally, formulated or local medicines, because TDRC had the mandate of, testing some local formulation, i.e. the Sondash formula, which I think passed, is it the first and second clinical trials, and after that it's just gone quiet, and Mr. Sondash is old now. We may lose him, God forbid. And we maybe, once we lose him, then we even lose that formulation. So I was just hoping that in the recommendation you put that there should be more emphasis on local grown formulas. Thank you.
Okay. Our witness, you should be minded that we are live on Parliament TV and radio. Okay? Now you can answer the questions.
No, we are thankful for that comment. I think understanding that the frequency and scale of public health crisis is set to increase because of climate change, I think the emphasis on having locally manufactured solutions to respond to our public health crisis is something that we take note of and something that we can add to our list of recommendations. Okay, thank you.
Honorable Musanje. Honorable Musanje, can you hear me? Do you want to ask? Do you want to ask a question? Okay. Okay, it's okay because you are not clear. It's okay. Okay, with our witnesses, honorable members, there are no more questions. You have the last one or the follow-up question. Okay, you can ask.
Thank you so much. This same bill, the National Health Research and Training Institute, that's what we're looking at, Roto. You haven't made mention of the board itself. Does it have a board, and if so, what is the composition? Because some circles are talking about non-qualified, people are proposed to be on the bill. So we thought maybe you could have commented on that. That is, if you are ready. If not, I think the chair will guide. I submit.
Okay. It's time for you to answer that.
I think what we note in our submission is that the bill provides for a more streamlined and adaptable board structure. So there's a level of flexibility in terms of the representation of the board, even I think in terms of skills. But for the specific board representation, that is in the Act. Yeah.
Perhaps just two additions that my colleague had earlier highlighted. We did note the inclusion of a local representative from an international agency. This is quite key for us because we feel it does strengthen collaboration. I think some of the issues we've been dealing with have not just affected Zambia. COVID, for example, we would have benefited from some further insight. But we also go to the earlier question you asked, a representative from finance, someone with knowledge around that. And for us, we did emphasize financial oversight is important, but how do we also ensure that this research that the institution would be doing would translate into marketable products or services, because that should be another aspect that perhaps the institute would consider even as they pursue different ventures of research.
Okay. Thank you so very much. If there are no questions, honorable members, I think you have come to the end of the meeting. But before you go, I conferred immunity on you. Now it's time for me to remove your immunity so that when you go outside there, in case you go and say something, you'll be on your own. No one is going to protect you. I thank you. Or maybe you have something to say before you go?
Just to thank you for the opportunity. As always, we're happy to lend our voice to these important discussions.
Okay.
We wish you a good day.
Thank you, Sam.